How's it going, Critter Family? I hope you all are doing well. We are looking at another video by Joel Beckman titled, Stop Your Dog from Lunging on Leash, No Wizardry Needed to Straighten Out This American Bulldog. So he's right, there's no wizardry. I think the thumbnail shows, he says leash magic. I think it's something like that along those lines. And it's not leash magic, it's just leverage, it's physics. It's using the end of a 6-foot leash, having a lot of leverage, by a tall person compared to a short dog, and you're pulling on its face, and it has a gentle leader on, head halter. So there's no magic. It's just logic and to figure out how it works, and it's just pain compliance. So that is it, just leverage and pain compliance. So we're going to be covering this video. Hopefully it'll be a short one because it's a shorter video. I'll try not to go on too many tangents. But using this footage, just like always, under Fair Use Act for education, criticism, giving my point of view, trying to give a voice to the dogs, and try to counter the misconception or misinformation or straight up lies or gaslighting that a lot of trainers, quote unquote trainers will do and spread. Dangerous nonsense like this. So, also giving my opinion, educated and personal, and yeah, just trying to give these dogs a voice. So let's get started.
A tactic by her. So I'm not going to let her get on that side of me because you want to be on this side of the dog. So right now I kind of know she's going to go. So I'm preparing myself. Look at my body. I'm ready. You got to be ready.
So if he knows that she's going to go, I know this is just the opening of his video. If he knows that she's going to go, then why don't you the better way to do this would be to prevent this behavior from happening. But he doesn't work that way. And this person sees him and she's smiling at him. I'm assuming she works for him. He's this little dog isn't helping either. So, yes, he's adorable, but I wouldn't necessarily be smiling because I would be aware that he's going to set her up for a correction.
For when the go happens, right here. This is a happy American Bulldog. This dog has a high prey drive. This dog has super bad leash reactivity and will bite anybody on the other end of the leash if she gets all worked up. That's what the...
Okay, so that sounds like great erection. Adonis used to do that when he was younger. When the dog just gets so overstimulated and over threshold that when they see something in their perimeter, they just go for it. For a dog, they use their mouth versus like a human, we might swat something away or touch it away or push it away. For a dog, their first instinct obviously is to go for their mouth. So they nip it. Adonis would nip me and leave little bruises, and it was really, really painful, but, it taught me that, look, when the dog we've lost the dog. They're in hindbrain thinking. They're over threshold. We need to get them out of that area because they're not going to be learning anything.
Said, this is my first session with her. Hopefully in this video, I'm going to show you what to do when the dog does react.
So this dog is already following him pretty well on the leash. He took a couple steps forward. The leash was pretty loose and the dog followed. So already doing very well there. Her tail is a little bit low, kind of a rounded top line. I'm glad she does have her tail. I do appreciate that. A lot of people with bulldogs or mastiff type dogs, they either the breeder will dock the tail or the ears for looks, or they try to claim that it's to prevent ear infections when really it just causes more ear infections. But that's neither here nor there. But knowing that removing a dog's tail will affect their ability to communicate with another dog and even a human. But he's going to be talking about, of course, he's going to wait to show you that you have to correct a dog. A lot of people think this because of people like this who reinforce the thought that you have to see the behavior to correct it, when really you don't have to do that at all. If you stop the dog from practicing a certain behavior and you practice a different behavior, one that you prefer, which is not setting the dog up for failure, not allowing them to practice barking or lunging or trying to snap at other dogs, then the other behavior of snapping and lunging and trying to bark and bite will become extinct, because we have reinforced and prepared the dog and set the dog up for success, not failure. And we really make sure that we set up the environment, which usually you can. You set up everything else in your dog's environment. You control everything else. You can control the times they go out, where they go out. To a certain degree. Like, I get that, real life happens, but don't, take your dog out at the busiest time of day if you don't have to. and practice in a quiet environment and build that behavior of being calm and quiet.
My videos, because the biggest point of leash reactivity is fixing it or tamping it down early in the walk so that when your dog sees the other dog, your dog doesn't freak out or freaks out less. Because once the dog has freaked out, it's very difficult. The dog that's coming out...
I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. That it is very difficult once you're there. So don't even try to, don't expect your dog to be learning anything when your dog is at that point. So if we have a dog that we know is, if I'm working with a dog, I specialize in reactivity. If I have a dog I know is reactive, first I want to make sure that they're able to walk on a nice loose leash, with their harness, because the more pressure I put on them, the tension on the leash is going to cause them to already be more nervous. Opposition reflex. They feel something pulling on them, they want to pull into it. So I want to make sure the dog is able to give into pressure, meaning if I pull on the leash or any tension moves on the leash, the dog follows that tension and it's loose. So you have to be aware of what you're doing with the leash. Secondly, if I know that the dog I'm working with is reactive, then I'm going to be looking out for the triggers that will set the dog off. And I want to keep a distance far enough away from them to where I can still work with the dog and still go for a walk and continue training with them without it being so close that they feel the need to, that they just switch into hindbrain, reactive, lizard brain, fight or flight, and they start reacting. So say we have a dog over, around the edge here on, the end of the property here, say it's 50 feet away, and this dog is able to stand here and look at the other dog and not bark and react. This is where I would work. And I would just walk back and forth and teach her that and reinforce, and then we would end the session. And then we would slowly decrease the amount of space between her and her trigger.
She doesn't like the dog. She went at the dog through a fence earlier. I'm ready. So we're going to see how this goes. Hey, I've got the Gentle Leader on her. Best product ever.
I disagree with that. I don't think it's the best product ever. I don't even like it when it's used in the more appropriate manner. I think he uses it very improperly. I think the company probably wouldn't condone this, method that he uses it with, or with it. But I don't like, I generally don't like head halters anyway. But you can teach your dog to accept it and not use this tactic. I wouldn't necessarily, just because people tend to use them, that doesn't mean that they're bad owners or they're being abusive by any means. The way he uses it is abusive and dangerous.
Strong dog. She's not that big, but she's strong.
Very rough handling. Oh my gosh, this dog is so patient. Just look at the way he moves his hands. He doesn't have soft, quiet hands. He's loud, obnoxious hands. Very rough, very jagged movement. No timing, no rhythm, no smoothness. The dog doesn't necessarily know what's going to happen. Very patient dog, though. He's just very rough. See, even that. Even showing, when you have a trainer that jerks and wiggles stuff around as a demonstration, they don't realize that the dog could be seeing that as a correction or an aggressive move. Not so much that they feel the need to run away, but that to the dog could be telling the dog that he's saying, he's being more aggressive than he needs to be. The dog could take that as a correction.
If this thing were to break or whatnot. Okay, here comes the dog.
So there was that cut there. I don't know what happened in the cut. He was adjusting this little part here, but I'm glad he does have it, tied to the collar as well. So it's not just straight under the chin, full force, but it's still going to be, pulling at this dog's face nonetheless. Very cute little American Bulldog, though. So she's already here.
Your arch nemesis.
This is perfect. I wouldn't necessarily say perfect because she's really getting fixated, but her tail is wagging. That was more of a positive wag. It's not going up and high. So I think she's probably just reacting because she's overstimulated. She's excited, or it can be from frustration. Not so much fear, but, it depends. In this moment, I would say she sees either dog, her tail wags. Just because a tail wags doesn't mean the dog is happy. It's just stimulation. But the rest of her body language makes me think she's excited to see the other guy. So I would stay at this distance. I would move a little bit more in front of her shoulder to get in the corner of her eyesight, maybe move right over here. And as soon as she looks at me, I would bend my upper half down, start backing away. And if she followed me, I would give her a reward. We might just stand here and let her look. If she goes, of course I would have her on harness. If she went to go pull, I would just move her back just enough to loosen that leash. And then she can give me a step in and I can loosen that leash again. I can give her occasional rewards, or we could just sit here and she could look at this dog. As long as she's not going into a hard stare. And I would test to see, hey, is she going to look away on her own? Every time she looks away on her own, I'm going to give her a reward. If she looks at me, she's going to get a reward. If she doesn't, then we'll just I'll start getting her attention and moving her away. Moving her feet a little.
Your arch enemy. Low whining. I don't know if
But that looks like curiosity to me. That's, not a bad sign that I see. She's a little fixated, but she's smelling. This is still very good. This is a perfect time to just reward. If, people want to talk about, we need to say the behavior to correct it. No. This is the behavior you want to reinforce. Okay, this is a healthy, she's curious. This is a healthy curiosity, okay? She hasn't even moved. If you could I'm sure if he walked backwards, she would follow him. Maybe not, I don't know, but, she might be a little bit over threshold. But this is the behavior. I always tell my clients, if it looks like you're rewarding for nothing at all, you're doing it right. This is the behavior I want to reward. Because she's not giving a hard stare. She's not on the front of her feet. She's standing sideways looking at this little guy over here. I would start moving around a little bit, having her, just follow me, and she can go sniff whatever on her leash, and she can look at the guy, the other dog or the other person. I have no problem with that. And as soon as she looks away on her own, I would reward that and reinforce that. Or if I had to get her attention, call her attention, more than a couple of times, I would say, okay, we're a little too close. Let's back up over here. And then we're just going to stand there and let her do her thing. I'm not going to ask for a sit or a down. I'm not going to force anything. If she wants to sit on her own, perfectly fine. I will even reward that. She can do whatever she wants as long as she's not barking, lunging, or pulling.
Dogs have to be given a chance to look at the other dog. Now, she can go leave me and go attack the dog. I don't care. Go. Which is
not a good train. If a trainer ever says that, she can go leave me and attack the other dog and he's trying to set her up for failure. That's my number one red flag, that this guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Dog is staying behind him.
Bro.
He gets upset because he goes to back away, even though she was staying behind him. She didn't leave him. But that's not what gets him clicks, apparently. That's not the way he likes to train. Because, again, I heard Bree, Zach George's wife, Bree, I think she said once that it appears to be reinforcing to the person giving the correction. The behavior of being able to correct something else or someone else is reinforcing, or in other words, rewarding enough for the punisher. The person giving the punishment, that it's rewarding for them. They want to keep doing it. Just human nature, I suppose.
Go. Oh, she's with me.
So I wonder if he hasn't already done this before, because she's a very smart dog. If he hasn't already taught her what this pop means, maybe that's what he cut out at first. Otherwise, she's very smart, to keep an eye on this guy already.
Little tester. Okay, let's pass.
So, jerk. He's going to drag her over there and then correct her. That shows 0 skills, 0 education. Again, 0 skills. Anybody can do this. You don't need to pay him however much you're paying him to work with your dog to do this. I don't ever suggest it, but, especially if it would be one thing if the owner does it, but they're paying someone, with hundreds of thousands of followers and, worked with killer whales and all this and that nonsense. Yes, it's nonsense. And they're paying him to show them to just be dangerous and abusive and put their dog at risk. This dog he could break their neck, he could cause a spinal injury, he could cause so much nerve damage. All this time, except for there, even then, this guy's lunging, so he's really not a good demo dog, in my opinion, if you're trying to help her. But she moved away from it. Even now would be a good moment to be able to reward. But I would say this guy's too close. Over time, can we proof her? Meaning that we get her used to a bunch of different scenarios, including dogs that are wild and crazy, to teach her that she can trust her owner to keep her safe in a number of different situations. Absolutely. I love generalizing training, proofing training, basically making the dog bomb-proof. But it's a process, not an event. So she still thought about it, but because he's an idiot, he doesn't know what he's doing. The one tool he has in his toolbox is a hammer, so he views every problem as a nail, meaning he only uses the head halter and correction. And so he does that with every single dog he works with. And then he just corrects them. Very dangerous. So you see now that her tail went up versus earlier it was down and a slow wag. You know, that's her building up to that, you know, that we'll say red zone of reactivity.
I believe this is the key teaching moment to the video. I want you to watch my body.
I believe it's the failure. The key, yeah, you're right, key teaching moment of failure. You can see where he has failed. Right here, if I saw the dog doing this, where her tail starts to go up, we're going to stop, we're going to back up, or we're going to have this dog back up. Or I'm going to have this person, you know, make sure this dog's not eyeballing her, and you know, he could have been all what causes, what changed the interaction to be from curiosity to her, you know, from in her eyes, to this guy's trying to attack me.
Watch my head and where I'm looking. So
I don't
she starts
care where
to
you're
come
looking.
around.
You could be rewarding her. I would be more worried about watching what the dog is doing than him.
And quote unquote avoid the dog, which is fine, but I think this is a tactic by her. So I'm not going to let.
So she's trying to avoid correction. She's trying her best. She's a smart dog, much smarter than most of the humans here. I mean, I'm not going to harp on this girl. She's just, you know, doing what he's probably taught her to do.
Her get on that side of me, because you want to be on this side of the dog. So right now I kind of know she's going to go, so I'm preparing myself. Look at my body.
So instead of taking all this time to prepare the dog to where she doesn't even feel the need to react, he takes the easy way out, the lazy man's way. He just sets her up for failure and corrects her. That's it. It's not magic. It's not wizardry. He's absolutely right. It's just baloney. It's just a very bad training tactic.
I'm ready. You got to be ready for when the go happens right here. Boom. She gives herself.
She does not give herself a correction because you pulled back on the leash. You put her on this head halter. You put her in this situation. She did not get a correction, you know, because she corrected herself. You pulled back on the leash. Stop lying. Stop gaslighting. Stop manipulating the viewers. I see why he's no longer working with orcas.
Alpha correction.
Because you can't do this to an orca. I mean, you can starve them, you can send another whale to correct them, but you can't rip them on the face like this.
I add about 3 inches. My hand moves about 3 inches. And
so your hand may move 3 inches, but there's 6 feet of leash here on the face. There's a lot of leverage. So your 3 inches might as well have been, you know, okay, so say your 3 inches adds half a pound. That, you know, that might as well be 10 or 15 or 20 pounds of pressure on her face because of the amount of this leverage here.
Timing was right, and then it's instantly...
And he expects owners to have good timing with such a dangerous tactic versus... I would much rather have a mistimed extra treat added somewhere that's not going to be detrimental to your dog's learning and behavior than a mistimed correction or overcorrection.
A loose leash again.
Very dangerous.
All right, let's break that down.
That he just jerks her over here because she can't even go sniff, just over-controlling.
I see so many people come out here, and what they
She's still trying to sniff.
What they do is their dog tries to avoid the other dog. Like, she started to avoid that other dog.
So she's still smelling where the other dog was? I mean, I would be okay with that.
So I let it happen. I've seen people come out. I'm like, oh, keep your dog on your left. But dog's over here. She went behind me to avoid the dog.
So why not? Because she's smart. She's smarter than you. She knows how to avoid correction and confrontation.
I'll let it happen. If you want to avoid the dog...
No, you forced it to happen. Because you don't have any skill, you don't care.
That's the opposite of leash reactivity, so we're going to let that happen. Then she came back, she veered towards the dog, and because I wanted to show you guys, I would have usually given her a correction right there, but I wanted her to kind of do it, so then I gave her the correction. Now she's smelling the air, she's going towards the tree.
He also got a knot in his leash. Poor little thing can't even go sniff, and he says, oh, she's leaving me, she's leaving me. Yeah, any animal, I would leave you too, dumbass. You're ripping on their face like that, of course they're not going to stay with you. But they'll learn, because, you know, they're smart, but they become your slave. While
on a leash, your leash reactive dog has to think this thing's gold. There's no going anywhere.
No, they don't, actually. They don't have to think about being tied. Otherwise, you're teaching everyone to be reliant on your dog is only safe if it is tied and tethered to you. And you're only as strong as the piece of equipment you have is. that means when this dog is off leash, we don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to be comfortable enough. You won't be able to stop them. So you're really not helping anybody. You're just making them more reliant on a tool. I would much rather teach the dog here, as people say, between the 5 inches between their ears or between their eyes and their little brain. I would rather teach them and work with their brain so that they can actually learn, not just to avoid something, but that, oh, this dog actually isn't scary. No matter what he says to me, if I stay with mom or dad, they're going to keep me safe. I can totally ignore this crazy little guy over here because mom and dad is going to keep me safe. And there may be times when mom and dad can't. And like with Adonis, when I had Adonis, if a loose dog ran up to us, I'm not going to make him shark bait. If he wanted to snap at that dog and tell him to back off, then I would let him do so. But then I would make sure that we ended at that. And, I would take over in the meantime and scream at the dog and, tell him to back off. I have no problem with loose dogs when I'm around, but when I have my dog around, they are my number one priority, keeping them safe.
Where?
Jesus. Doesn't even give her a chance. Walks away and then pops her on the face. God.
This leash is all that matters, and my movement...
And look at her tail is now tucking so much closer to her body again, rounded top line. This dog is very fearful and uncomfortable around him.
And me are all that matters. When this thing is on, that's all that matters. So why is she following me now? Because she went towards that tree, and then she went over here, and now she goes, oh, I better watch a crazy guy.
She's around you because you caused pain compliance. Who knows what damage you could have caused on the inside of this dog. I mean, I'm waiting for the day when he has a lawsuit against him because he injures a dog, kills a dog, or another person follows his technique and injures their dog or kills them.
That's exactly right. Watch crazy guy and don't worry about the dog. Okay.
No, I would much rather not. That's a stupid idea. I mean, you can follow that if you want. I think that's a really bad idea. I don't want someone to watch crazy guy. I want the dog to want to follow me because they trust me, not because they fear me and they I'm unpredictable or I cause pain compliance.
Go again. Come on.
Trying to stay away from the other dog. Lip lick. Very fearful behavior.
What a good
trying
girl.
To avoid.
That was the best girl.
But because, what is it? Stockholm syndrome, I just beat you, I just rip your face off, I just cause a lot of pain and correction, but when I say, oh, good girl, oh, I love you, that actually means something, because otherwise, the only attention you get is negative attention.
Avoided, then got reinforcement.
Adonis would not give a hoot about this. You would do this all day long, and he would redirect on you, and, because I've done this stupid nonsense before I knew anything. And he taught me it doesn't work, it makes his behavior worse. In his case, it made his behavior worse. This dog is just, a soft enough, sensitive enough dog that they're developing learned helplessness. They're not fighting back.
A lot of people keep their dog next to them, and then the dog isn't allowed to avoid. And give your dog some leash, too.
So all that time, he could be rewarding her with treats and something she actually finds rewarding and reinforcing. But he's not.
Bro?
See, he's trying to set her up for failure, even though she's trying so hard now to obey this master, this just over-controlling mind freak, and he still sets her up for failure. Ouch.
Right there.
Extremely dangerous. I don't know how this guy doesn't have a lawsuit. Maybe he does, I don't know. But I would never, ever, ever, ever recommend this.
Me time it right. She left me, I backed up, then right on the freak out. We'll do this again.
So he's trying to correct the whining instead of seeing what the dog needs. The dog is not learning anything from this. She's just learning to avoid it. She's not learning to become confident. She's still just as confused about the other dog and what to do about her emotional state. We can teach her that you don't have to be nervous around this guy. And this is not how you teach it.
It's all day. Oh, you're with me. Okay, we can walk.
Let's drag her over here. Still avoiding.
Oh!
God, look at that cower. This picture is worth 1,000 words. I mean, he looks just like that guy, I guess Sykes, whatever his name is, from Oliver. I never want a dog to look at me like that, especially if I make contact or I make a sharp move. I would be a failure in my mind. You know, if I ever had a dog react to me like this, and, you know, because I did something on purpose. You know, if I did something on accident, I step on their toe or something, or I accidentally, you know, drop something and they spook, you know, that's one thing. I would certainly not hope to get this reaction, but, you know, it happens. But especially to do it on purpose and he's happy about it.
Oh, you see that reaction? Just from me stopping, the dog's like, oh, I gotta watch this guy.
She is terrified of you. And you're proud of that. That's very sad.
If I can talk to the camera and do this, where's she going?
Ouch!
There's no...
Where's she going? Away from you, because 2 seconds earlier, I'll put the picture up again, because 2 seconds earlier, you looked like this. That's why she's leaving you.
Do this? Where's she going?
Ouch.
There's no leaving. Ever.
God, you're such a control freak. It's so irritating. He really has some kind of a, you know, confidence problem where he's seriously trying to compensate for something.
I'll do her on the right. Here, let's walk.
This poor little
Check-ins.
thing.
Avoiding.
That's not good. That's not
Check-in.
a training session.
Check-in.
That's not a good training plan. The owner is gonna have to rely on being as heavy-handed as he is and keeping the constant threat of punishment and pain in this dog's mind to keep any control over them. And it's not even really like control.
Check-in. Loose leash. Leash reactivity is due, for the most part, to frustration.
Or fear. They're not sure about the other dog. You're absolutely right. It is due to frustration or fear of the other dog. And this is not going to help it. This will make so many dogs so much worse.
Giving some leash at times is a really good thing.
Ow! He didn't even give her a chance. Abusive. I don't care what you say. This, in my opinion, is abusive. Right in plain view. Just like Dog Daddy, just like Caesar Milan, just like American Upstate Canine, all of them.
Keep an eye on the guy. She wasn't. It doesn't matter where I go. Listen, this is leash reactivity. It goes dog-on-dog aggression, number one most difficult thing. Dog on people.
In your mind.
People aggression, number two.
Dog on people aggression is the number one thing that I think is, you know, of most importance and most difficult.
Leash reactivity, number three. What's number four? Probably separation anxiety. What's number five? Probably fear. This is number three on the difficulty list.
Just his list just makes no sense. I mean, separation anxiety and human aggression are probably the top two for me that are most difficult to work with, along with, like, fear is easy enough to work with. It just, you have to have a lot of patience and understanding. But a lot of those problems he listed are based off of fear.
So if you think I'm being mean, if you think I'm being hardcore, if you think I'm...
No, not hardcore as in a good way. You are being mean. You are being abusive. You are being way too heavy-handed with this dog. It's not okay. Because nobody's going to see it this way.
It's complicated.
It's not complicated. It's very simple. You don't know anything other than using compulsion, heavy-handedness, using one tool for every problem, using force, pain compliance, and intimidation. That's it. You are a bully and a control freak. That is it.
It's all those things. I'm being a little mean, I'm being a little hardcore, and this is complicated.
So he's admitting to being mean. Okay.
Don't ever let anyone tell you or think leash reactivity is not complicated.
No, it certainly can be complicated, but you know what would make it easier is not making the owner feel like they have to rely on... You're making it more complicated. I try to make it as easy as possible for the everyday owner to be able to practice this when I'm not there. You know, I've been doing this for 8 years professionally and studying, you know, every day and practicing all of this, you know, working with my own dog, you know, for the 12 years that he was alive. This is my passion. So I do this in my free time. Everyday people don't. So I try to make it as simple as I possibly can. And What's my saying? If it looks like you're rewarding for nothing at all, you're doing it right. They don't need to look out for any special kind of timing or anything. Just make sure that you keep your dog. If your dog is pulling, your dog is reacting, increase distance. If you need to drag him to get him out of there, do that. And then go back and set it up to where you can just sit outside in your front lawn and give your dog, half their meal worth of kibble. Or throw in a couple pieces of hot dog in there. Or some dehydrated liver. Whatever you want to give your dog. And every time they're calm, every couple of seconds, give them a little treat. If they look at you, bam, they get an instant treat. And if they look at the other dog and they're not reacting, give them a treat. Do that for 2 minutes even. 5 minutes. Probably not more than, 15, 20 max at a time. And practice that throughout the day. And then throughout the week. And then we can work on getting closer. None of this... All this on a harness.
It is complicated. So you need all the tools in your toolbox. Let's go.
But he only has one tool. Okay, we'll say 2. Control. Well, no, we'll say 1. He only has one tool. This. Without this, he is nothing. Control freak, bully, master, slave driver. Slave. Learned helplessness.
Oh, avoiding the dog. What a great Cappy. That's our good girl. Thing. That's our good.
But, because she's a dog, she's going to be appreciative of this. If he is, say he just made this dog his hostage, and he just, ripped her face off with this halter and, jerked her around, this and that. But when he's not, and he actually gives her a happy tone, of course she's going to be happy.
Girl. If I had treats, I give her treats. One more.
Yeah, but you don't have treats, and you wouldn't, and so, that would make... Because God forbid, that would make this so much easier. God forbid you make something positive for the dog.
Close pass, then we'll be done. What I do, I let the dog avoid. Okay? A lot of people don't do that.
No, you actually don't. Because you force the dog. You try to act like you're giving them every opportunity. You do. You give them every opportunity to mess up, and it's not on the dog, it's on you.
Then when I'm standing here talking to the camera, which you could do in life,
You're distracting the dog. Don't be talking to the camera. It's not helpful for the dog. It's helpful for you. Because you get all your clicks and whatnot, and your little hive mind to kiss up to you and think that you're God. Maybe that's where he gets his God complex from.
PetSmart, you're at Cahoots, you're at the mall, you're wherever, and the dog just goes, I'm leaving. No, there's no leaving while on a...
Don't tell other people what to think. I know you're used to your little cult-like hive mind. Other people, if they want their dog to leave them, that's their business. If they don't care if their dog sits there like a broken, robot and their spirit's been broken, their learned helplessness, their slave, if they want to have a relationship with their dog and their dog is an individual with a mind of their own and their own needs and able to remove consent from being touched and harassed by other people, then they can do that. And if you take your dog to a place that's very advanced in training, such as, Cahoots or a pet store. Cahoots is, I think, the local pet store for wherever he lives. PetSmart, Lowe's, Home Depot. If you just go there and throw your dog in the middle of a very crowded area, of course your dog is going to want to leave. You don't just need to correct them, you need to prepare them, but he doesn't teach that.
Leash. Dog can leave. If it's off leash, it can do whatever it wants. It just needs to come to you. But on leash, can't leave.
I would rather have my dog... You know what? You're an idiot. I'm done.
Come on. That's our girl.
Yeah, he has to really coax her to move with him.
Check in.
See, all those times he could be giving her a reward. This dog's
That's
really not helping her.
That's the best dog.
You think that's going to stick? No, it's not. I mean, if he actually had treats to reward her with, it would stick a lot better and stick longer, much longer term than just the correction.
All right. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay?
It really doesn't.
You need all the tools in your toolbox to
But you only have one. He keeps talking about all these tools. He literally just uses the head halter and a leash and pops the dog. That is it. There's no other tools that he's actually using. I probably talked about 40 different tools. And none of them involve an actual physical correction on the dog. Or even a mental, psychological
leash reactivity,
correction.
Usually. I think I've explained the principles of it pretty well.
I wonder how hot it is for this dog. I mean, I don't know if that's just the camera fogging up or if it's, just like be aware of the sun and make sure you have water for your dogs, and make sure that, if you can't keep your hand on the pavement for, 10 seconds, or put your bare foot on there, then your dogs are burning their feet. So be aware of that. So I'm going to end it there. Of course, I don't recommend any of this, but, if you want to follow him, by all means, go ahead and subscribe to him. Go ahead and like his video. You can dislike mine. Or if you liked my video, then feel free to subscribe and like my video. I mean, it's totally your preference. So thanks to everyone. Thanks again, as always, for the wonderful, sweet messages that you all leave for me, for my sweet boy Adonis. It really does mean the world to me. Thank you so much, everyone. Please go give your little critters some kind of loving they enjoy. Be sure to say hi for me. And until next time, stay positive.